This next awardee tonight, it's an interesting story. I, as an educator, and in my many roles or at the bank, some of you know I'm a recovering banker, it doesn't matter. In either of these roles, I've heard so many people talk about leadership, talk about ethics, talk about taking responsibility for yourself. And I must say, the single most impactful lecture I heard in all of those years was this next person when he talked to a group of our students. I scribbled, I took notes, I wished so bad, I really wished we had taped this, but he really has a very interesting perspective on taking care of yourself, taking care of people around you. So we're really lucky to have him here. Now, with this awardee, we did know that David Booth would be traveling. He told us several months ago, once we had this date in. So we bring to you via technology. Now, this is how cool David Booth is. So I called David, and we're looking at the dates, and he says, I am so sorry. That's why you two are getting the dates tomorrow, okay? Because we were a little late getting the dates out. So he says, it's no problem. I'll be in London. I can call in. I said, it'll be about, late in the night for you. Oh, that's no problem. I said, David, I have full faith in you that you will call in, but I wish we had the technology to guarantee that that live feed would work. So instead, we have a videotaped message for you, Chris, from David Booth.
Thank you, Neely. As you can tell, I'm unable to attend the Distinguished Alumni Dinner tonight, but I had the honor of receiving the award last year, and part of the deal was I would show up this year to present the award to the next recipient. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. But it's my honor tonight, in any event, to introduce Distinguished Alumni Award recipient, Mr. Chris Lynch. Chris earned his bachelor's degree in business administration and accounting from KU in 1979. He spent most of his career at KPMG in Denver, New York, and San Francisco, and he retired in May 2007 as national managing partner of the firm's largest division, the financial services division, where he oversaw 6,000 professionals and about $1.2 billion in revenue. He was also a practice fellow at the Financial Accounting Standards Board and served as a partner in KPMG's national office. He's also been on the boards of Freddie Mac and AIG, and he helped bring AIG CEO to KU in January for a lecture to business school students. But with his Freddie Mac connection, I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to you if you're having problems with your mortgage after dinner. He, on a personal note, he teaches Tai Chi, meditation, and Qigong to students with cancer, heart disease, and neurological disorders. And he lives in San Francisco with his wife, Jill, and 3 boys, the oldest of which is now a student at KU. So let's have a big Jayhawk round of applause as we honor Chris Lynch. Thank you, and rock chalk.
Neely, I would just say this beautiful flower looked a lot like AIG the first day I walked into the door there, so Eric, no offense, but Neely, faculty, distinguished guests, and friends, let me start by thanking you for this incredible and very personal honor. And Roger, to you and your wife, Julie, thank you for all you do for the university. And it's extraordinary to hear the way that you're impacting the lives of so many youth in this country, and education is so very, very critical. It's a privilege to stand here tonight, but I look at a recognition like this and really think that it is a tribute to all the men and women that were part of my journey, part of my path. And I could share some extraordinary stories about the 2 organizations that I've been involved in the last 4 years. But I thought you wouldn't want to hear all the gory details of the battles in the boardrooms or the challenges with the lawyers and the investment bankers. So I thought I would work on a slightly different thesis this evening, and that is the concept of teaming. Because I think in a university environment, one that is looking for collaborative partners both in the corporate communities, its geographic communities, and finding the right pulse and relationship with governmental authorities in funding and financing, and its relationship with students and the stewardship that you have for the students. I think the concept of teaming is very, very relevant. If there's one universal truism I think everybody in this room can identify with when you think of the concept of teaming, and you'll see a little theme emerging here quickly, teaming starts at birth. And I'm really, really delighted that my 92-year-old mother, Helen Lynch, is here. I'll tell you a little bit about Helen. Please stand up. Incredibly strong, always prone to action, incredibly insightful, and great intuition. This was an individual who raised 6 kids on a shoestring budget with nothing more than ingenuity and pure, sheer grit and determination. And so from her, my first mentor, I learned the power of fire and courage. I'm also here with my youngest brother, Pat. Pat is son number 6. I was number 5. So we very much understand the idea of scarcity of limited resources. There wasn't a shirt, a tie, a suit, a pair of pants that we probably didn't get passed down from one of the older brothers. And we fought, we competed, we were in sports, and from Pat and all my other brothers, I learned to absolutely love the sense of competition. So that was a great gift that Pat and my other brothers gave me. The next person I'll refer to is in my formidable years here on this campus. And I bumped into Howard this evening, and we were lamenting about the extraordinary strength of our class. And you hear this occasionally in sports metaphors or in Yale Law School or business reviews, where there comes a time in a given discipline where there's just an extraordinary concentration of talent that comes out of this. Roy Messick was absolutely inseparable from me in the last 3 years when I was at KU. We took almost every single accounting, marketing, statistics, and thank you, Professor Scheer. It was illuminating and highly rewarding. But we went out of our way to take classes, instructors, times together. This is a person of unbelievable intellect, and he was so disciplined and so focused. And he helped me realize coming at studies and my pursuit of any endeavor could never take a shotgun, a scattered approach. It required discipline, process, and breaking the complexity of any initiative into its simplistic steps so that you could repeat it, you could execute it, and could excel. And so for that, Roy, thank you for keeping me in school. That was greatly appreciated. Not sure I would be receiving an alumni award if I wasn't an alumni, and I think you had a major role in making sure that happened. You can also tell the 2 things I really learned from Roy is bringing discipline to any endeavor, and his extraordinary, with his incredible gifts, the humility that he brings is incredible. Now, unfortunately, my wife would say I need a refresher course from you on the second, but we'll talk about that later. From my 28 years at KPMG, I invited Mary Pat McCarthy here. Mary Pat was the Vice Chair of Industries, the highest ranking female in all of KPMG in the United States. She was later the Vice Chair of the Audit Committee Institute, which was one of the preeminent externally facing bodies that we had in KPMG, interacting with major audit committee chair and board members around the country, an incredibly important role. In her side time, she just happened to run our technology and software practice. She was one of the most capable and preeminent large account handling partners that we had, which actually took her from Mountain View to the Kansas City marketplace because she took over for the merger of Sprint and was willing to relocate herself, Kevin, and her lovely family here to this marketplace. I would tell any of you that if you ever, at any point in time in your life, and it sounds like Roger had one of these experiences also, to have a boss like Mary Pat, you will feel incredibly supported, incredibly benefited, and to be around that much innovation, that much instinct, and that much leadership potential. So I thank Mary Pat and all my colleagues at KPMG for really teaching me and giving me a multitude of opportunities to focus on leadership, to focus on taking complexity and finding a way to solve the problem that was expedient, pragmatic, and realistic. From AIG, Eric Martinez is here this evening, the big E, as we call him at AIG. AIG is probably the reason we're here, that I'm here this evening. Jeff Vitter was out on the West Coast, and we got together in probably an indescriptive little small restaurant in Chinatown, and literally on the back of a napkin, we dreamed up a concept of what it might take to bring a corporate presence out of New York, a big anchor tenant, and really cement that relationship here with the university. And it was that informal, it was that casual, and I would say probably in 6 to 9 months, we actually made it happen. Bob was out here just in the last couple of months with me and a whole group of the senior executives at AIG. And we really have commenced an extraordinary collaboration in which we're looking for our enormous amount of 100 years of big data from claim files of every imaginable malady you could think of, or accident or property damage. And we're approaching the university saying, there is so much talent here, so much academic and analytical rigor. We need to marry the academic rigor and disciplines you have with this enormous unmined data that we have in order to find realistic solutions for the future. So we're at the very early stages. I know a team is going back Monday, I think, to present their first research pilot project to us, and we're very excited about it from our end. AIG is an extraordinary company, one that I'm sure Eric and I both feel we're immensely proud that the taxpayers in the room, your children, your grandchildren, you'll have $182 less billion that you'll have to repay. And so we feel very, very pleased with what we've done. The AIG world has taught me a lot about how to think out of the box. Because when the world asked for repayment, we looked around and most of the board members realized that fire sale asset price recovery was not going to be able to repay Americans. And we went to Treasury, and Geithner was incredibly cooperative and said, I'll give you a year or two. If you want to rethink the strategy, if you want to look at normalizing and righting the company, go find yourself a CEO. And in Bob Ben-Moshe, we found an incredible champion of our people. Someone, if you follow the news, he's very, very opinionated. He's not afraid to take on Washington, and I've been in the room when many of congressmen wilted under his very sharp tongue. We get a little nervous as directors over, oh my God, Bob's taking another business roundtable trip to Washington. I hope we're in damage control mode. But honestly, I think his absolute pure bluntness and crispness about what is necessary in this country and how we are desperately looking for leadership, true leaders with courage, really resonates with taxpayers around the country, regardless of your party orientation. The second thing I've learned from AIG is sometimes you have to pull the trigger. And I think Roger alluded to this. Executives have to learn to make decisions and make them quickly in a world of imperfect information. And many people want and favor and desire to have complete and perfect information. And usually the only correlation one can draw is they always get to the marketplace too late. So AIG has taught me sometimes you have to go with your instincts in the best intuitive feel. One of my colleagues was not here today, Linda Ballman. She is a director with me at Freddie Mac, and I will tell you, she's been an incredible partner with me. She was the former vice chairman at JP Morgan and ran all of their risk management practices. And as you can see, there is a theme. I've been surrounded by some pretty extraordinary women in my life. I'll come to one more a little bit later. But Linda has really work with me to bring accountability to an organization that was really struggling, and to bring operational excellence to an organization that was very process-oriented and was not expedient, was not efficient, and was really not responsive, especially to what taxpayers should be expecting. I've also learned a very difficult, and maybe this is more of a beltway issue dealing in Washington, and I've had to accept, and I at times can be rather impatient, that in the world of Washington, sometimes out of your 5 days on the ground there, only one day of all the discussions, all the analysis, all the fresh ideas, of all the provocative out-of-the-box thinking, only one day does any of that input stick. And the other 4 days, you sit there and you feel like you're spinning your wheels and you're frustrated, and at times you wonder, are we really going backwards here? But I realized even 1 day out of 5 where you're making a difference is making progress. And most importantly, to my wife, Jill, my best friend, and the one person whose counsel I've really come over the years to rely upon more and prize than any. She's really helped me navigate what I call the human element of business, and helped me see things not as an accountant would, not as an executive would, not as a finance individual, but she helps me always see problems and issues through a different lens and a different filter. And I think that helps me be more effective in my role. To my youngest son, Hobby, as he calls, his actual name is Alexander, but he goes by Hobby. He's taught me to enjoy life's little luxuries every single day. And we have this, this tradition that every time the barometer gets north of 80 in San Francisco, which I can assure you is not very often, that he makes me take him to 7-Eleven and get him an icy every day. So, and for some reason, I've rediscovered my absolute passion for sunflower seeds, and I'm sure it's because he reintroduced it to me. And he is probably the only member of the family who has enough patience and tolerance to actually sit through a KU basketball game when I'm watching it, because I can be rather animated. To our middle son, Nick, who is shortly embarking on a trip over to China. He's only 17 years old. Jill and I pulled him out of an immersion program because the school was offering an immersion program for him 3 miles down the road, and we kind of didn't think that qualified. So I set up a program. He's going to work on the hardwood floor of a manufacturing concern in Shanghai for 8 weeks. He's really excited, and then he'll teach English to students of the workers. He's going to do it on a volunteer basis because I was pretty confident I didn't want to deal with the Chinese government overtaking a job when they have 700 million unemployed people. But Nick is fearless, and from Nick, I've really learned to live life with complete gusto and reach out and never stop reaching for something. And finally, Peter, our eldest, who's a sophomore here in this business school, right there. He's going, oh God, where are we going? He's our legacy connection to this university, and quite frankly, he's probably our family's best ambassador. He's wickedly smart, he's honest, and completely unpretentious. And when I'm around Peter and all of his colleagues, as he's dragged me out to the bars, which I probably haven't been to for a long, long time, or at least not that I would admit in front of your mother, I really feel his intense and absolute passion for learning and zest to expand his sphere and his perspective on issues. And he's always trying out ideas. And for him, I've learned this incredible concept that every one of us, regardless of our circumstances, regardless of our age, has an abundant and endless list of opportunities in front of us if we just open our mind and embrace them. So as Kansans, you know, it is. I think it's so easy to overlook the qualities of integrity, discipline, courage, and resiliency. And I spend so much time, both domestically and around the globe, meeting with executives. And it's ironic to hear the same feedback over and over. We're just looking for loyalty, a commitment to our organization, people who will be hardworking, people who understand every solution is not derived through a committee. Sometimes someone, one person, just has to roll up their sleeves, lead, make a brave decision, make a comment in the room, or get the job done. And I think, as I look out, these executives are really seeing the quintessential building blocks of all great teams. And it's one of the reasons, one of the most preeminent brands that this university has is its basketball program. And one of the things that's very interesting as I look at it as somewhat of an outsider, a very, very proud alum, is that these parts have all been honed and taught to work together and to not own the ball, not own it, not be the person who's going to save the team on any given shot, on any given night, but to understand we win, we compete, and we succeed when we're a team. And to me, I think nothing signifies the visible brand. And I realize the academic rigor of this organization is extraordinary. But I would tell you, to most people in New York, at Syracuse, at Louisville, and Kentucky, they recognize something extraordinary happens in this organization when you come on, as my brother says, hallowed ground. It's that you learn to give up yourself and you learn to focus on team. So as I look at this, I'd use an analogy that I think this business school is very, very lucky indeed. I think each year you get this extraordinary crop of new talent. And those interests, those passions, they infuse the soil all around this campus. And you look to this faculty and the dynamic classroom environments and the spirited, active engagement and challenging of one another. And your job is to serve as that furnace, tempering this talent, forging this talent, preparing this talent for us, the marketplace, the consumers. And trust me, we're hungry. We are hungry for talent. We're not hungry for the people who just want to come in and be, as we call it in the business world, a net taker. Trust me, there's net takers out there everywhere in the business world. We're looking for the special people who are net contributors. We talk about this a lot in our family. I recognize it's very socially unacceptable, but net takers and net givers are a huge discussion point in our family. And I tell our kids, every time you're in a 10-minute conversation, there is a net taker in that role and there's a net receiver. And you better be a net taker. You better have a take, you better offer your opinion. Even if you're wrong, that's a learning experience. So as I look out and think of what this organization is doing, its role is so critical. You are the stewards. You have a fiduciary responsibility to take this extraordinary talent that comes to you every day and to mold it into something that is responsive and something that we can plug and put into our machinery, just like the MBA looks at what the school and Bill Self has accomplished here. So my vision for this school is that as we turn the corner and your crop, your next year's graduates, 5-6 weeks away, my vision is that they will be the complete success stories of the future, that they will be the turnaround artists that we did at AIG, that they will have the future forward-looking innovation that we and so many companies are looking for. And as all of us, 2-3 years from now, walk through the new Summerfield building, we're going to see these accolades lining the hallways. And that's my hope for the university and this business school. So thank you very much.